What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, and it is the day after the Euro 2020 final, and I think I speak for everyone when I say I'm still feeling very, very hurt and a lot of pain after what we went through yesterday. I think this Euros gave everyone so much hope, and I think it gave everyone so much excitement throughout this whole month. It's been amazing to be an England supporter this whole month, I think. The circumstances, how it's all came to be, getting to our first final in 55 years, the football we've played, the team beating Germany in a knockout stage, I think for the first time competitively in our history, apart from obviously the beating Germany in the 1966 final. And for it to go all the way down to penalties, down to the wire, and for it to end in the way it did was just a massive, massive sucker punch, I think, to the whole country. And I think the whole country was ready to explode yesterday. And it just wasn't to be. It didn't quite happen. The only country probably who knows what it is to spoil a party is Italy. And that's exactly what they did yesterday. They spoiled the English party, which looked set to go long into the night, especially after 3 minutes when Luke Shaw put England 1-0 up. But it was absolutely gutting when, you know, penalties are always full of drama. It's always so nerve-wracking. And for it to turn out the way it did yesterday, it's going to take a long time, I think, for a lot of those players and a lot of the fans to get over. Harry Kane said it yesterday, it hurts now and it's going to hurt for a very long time. But life goes on, unfortunately. And we got to talk about it. We got to dissect what we can do better. We got to take the positives of what happened. At the end of the day, we got to our first final in 55 years. We have the youngest squad in the tournament. We had a lot to be proud of for this team. We had a lot of good things come out of this tournament. I think Gareth Southgate proved that he consistently can get good results now out of this team. And maybe some people complain sometimes the football isn't always pretty, but he knows what he's doing. And even yesterday, you got to say that first goal all came from his tactics. The fullbacks both involved in the goal, and it worked a treat. Italy proved why they're one of the favourites in the tournament, why they're one of the best teams in the tournament yesterday, because they reacted to how we set up. They reacted to the start. They adjusted the way they played. They gained control. And unfortunately for England, we couldn't really react to how Italy reacted. And that's probably what saw them through at the end of the day. But you just got to look at the attacking talent England have and why people can still be excited for the future. Players like Mount, Phil Foden, Bukayo Saka, these players are not even 22 yet, I think, or they're under 23, and they're playing so well for their country. They're doing everyone so proud. And I think that's the most positive thing we got to take out of yesterday. Not the fact that some people missed a penalty when it's a complete roulette. Not the fact that Italy were the masters of the dark arts and that we struggled to deal with that. The fact of the matter is we went toe-to-toe one of the best teams in Europe yesterday. And when we came up against Germany, we came out on top. When we came up against Italy, we went toe-to-toe and we took it to a 50-50 gut shot penalty shootout. And unfortunately, we didn't make it through. And that's what hurts the most. But I couldn't have been happier to have been with all our fans yesterday and my family at the event at the Aroma Lounge, which was absolutely buzzing. It was absolutely electric. I wouldn't have wanted to have been anywhere else. Honestly, it was it was absolutely on fire yesterday. And those scenes when we went 1 up after 3 minutes was something I'll never forget. But just a bit, it's a twinge of disappointment, just like in 2018, where we had a great World Cup, but couldn't quite make it to the final. This time we had a great Euros, couldn't quite get it through. But one person I know who's going to have a lot of positives after this Euros is Grandpa, and he's on the line. Let's go speak to my Grandpa. Let's see what he's got to say about the Euros tournament and what he thinks of England. Grandpa, let's get him on. Hi. Hey, Grandpa.
Hi.
How you doing? You're on.
I'm not on. Can't see me.
I can see you. Don't worry. You're on. You're live.
All right. Okay. I can see me in the corner in that little square box. Anyway.
It was, sum up your feelings after yesterday.
My feelings are very much, and as you know, I've written to you, because my feelings was tremendous pride for not just the players. I'll come on to that in a minute. But my pride in terms of the whole thing that We Are Tottenham TV have done. I mean, you've not just taken Tottenham as your cause. You've taken on the whole of football and the whole of Great Britain and all the teams in Great Britain, and you've done that with tremendous responsibility for all those people, and I think that's a wonderful thing. And I think Southgate has done the same thing. Southgate has brought British football back to being the best, not just in terms of their play, but in terms of the way they support the blacks, the way they take the knee. I mean, they got Italy doing it as well, which was just great. The fact that they use "God Save the Queen" as their anthem. I mean, it's all about getting Britain back. And I think the cup did come back to Britain. I think the trophy did come back to Britain. Okay, we got in the final for the first time for 55 years. That's not an easy thing. And we should all be proud of what Southgate and that team of players did to get us there. And I'm joyous. I'm joyous. I wasn't joyous last night, but I'm joyous now. And listening to Southgate in this news conference this morning and to Kane, I think that they've been true gentlemen. They could have blamed a lot of things. They could have been blaming the penalties that we should have had and the guy that should have been sent off, which I felt there was due case for it, but they didn't. And they praised the players for everything they did. The only one thing I would say where Southgate went wrong is bringing those two guys back at the last minute. They could not. I mean, you've played football yourself, and probably a lot of the people who are watching this play football. You can't just walk on the pitch and then feel the conditions, feel the grass, feel the ball. That's what happened. They came on, they didn't touch the ball, they didn't play. And I think, therefore, they were, apart from the nerves, they also didn't have the feel for the game. Because I understand that in training, they were the best. But in training, they're all playing. You're all playing in the same thing. And I think that was an error of judgment. Not that they came on, but they came on without having some time to feel the game.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I thought you couldn't really find fault with many other players. It's very hard to give a man of the match because so many of them were playing well, and the defense, our defense, even though in the second half, I agree with what you were saying before. We were losing the attacking style that we started with, but in defense, we were solid, absolutely solid. The goal that they got was, it wasn't you can't say it was a brilliant goal. It was a goal, but it wasn't a brilliant goal like Chiazzo did in the last, what was the match when
the Chiesa, in the semi-final.
Yeah, it wasn't a goal like that, and it wasn't a well-worked goal like ours in those first 5 minutes when that was absolutely planned that those backs came up.
Definitely.
And I think I think we were brilliant, and I think that the backs did us really, really proud not to give them more than that one goal.
Yeah.
So all in all, I think we've got to count the blessings, look at the players we've got, build up that team, strengthen the team. A lot of them are young, and I think we've got 16 months, is it, before the World Cup?
Yeah, not long to go.
I think if we all get behind them, get behind Southgate, because he's a brilliant guy, he's a kind person. The way he looked after the guys that missed the goal, particularly
Saka,
Saka, 25, it's in your picture.
Yeah.
The way he looked after him, I just take my hat off to him. And I think he'll get all that stuff that he's already got, even more. And I hope that we just stay with him and he stays with us. The majority of those players will grow, some will drop out, and we'll bring some new ones in. But I think we've got determination, a way of doing things now, which if we stick to it, we'll actually achieve greater things as we go forward.
And obviously, Gareth Southgate, has history. He's obviously before taking the England job, his legacy with England was missing that penalty back in 1996, which obviously that's plagued him for a long, long time. So, is there anyone really better positioned than Gareth Southgate to kind of help these guys through these next few weeks or months or maybe even years of how much pain it's going to be? There's going to be how much pain they're going to be feeling from missing those penalties. Do you think there's any better person than Southgate to see them through that?
No, I'll just say one other thing, Simeon, that I think that your broadcasting of this of the match and all the build up to it will really put Spurs in a different position. I think some of the things that's been coming out of this, I think Spurs management, Spurs players will take it on board, and particularly as it seems like Kane's going to stay, I think he'll bring a lot of Southgate's thoughts. Nuno, at any rate, will bring a lot of Southgate's thoughts. I think he thinks like him. I think he's a gentleman like him. What I've read, and is young. He's done quite well. Is creative, and I think the whole picture, to me, gives me greater faith in the coming season for Spurs as well.
Wow, I hope you're right, and I do look forward to what's to come with England. We'll see what happens with Spurs. They still need a long way to go to convince me we're moving in the right direction just yet. But when it comes to England, I agree with you, and especially considering the fact we actually had the youngest team in the whole tournament. You had the likes of Mount, Foden, who's not even who's like 20 years old. Saka's not even 20 yet. Sancho is just signed for Man United. He's like 22 years old. So when you look at this, even though it was our first final in 55 years, and we did end up on the losing side at the end of the day, you see this more as a platform to build on rather than a missed opportunity.
Absolutely is a platform to build. Absolutely. I think the missed opportunity, because it was missed, makes the opportunity look greater and something really to fight for. And, something slightly amusing, if we'd won, would we get complacent?
Maybe. There's a thing.
It could be. So I think we're in for a good season. And I think if we get everybody thinking the way Southgate's thinking and all come together. I mean, it's just wonderful to see all the different teams coming together to play together in one team. And that was just wonderful to see. And that's what it's all about. That's what leadership is all about.
But what credit do you give to Italy after yesterday? Because I thought they have been one of the teams of the tournament. Obviously, they did end up winning the whole thing, and probably some would argue deservedly so. And I think yesterday, maybe it wasn't the prettiest, but they kind of did the naughty things. They kind of did the dark arts yesterday, making fouls at crucial times, not letting England get into their rhythm, and ultimately they did take control of the game. And although it was a win on penalties, when they did score at the time, it was kind of coming. Everyone could kind of sense it. And what do you think of them after yesterday?
Well, I didn't think that they were as good a team as Spain. I think Spain played better. I mean, they won again, probably using the dark art, as you called it, with them, because I thought Spain played better, and I think France was a better team than Italy.
But they just have that knack, don't they, Italy, of just staying the course, staying in the game, and somehow finding a way, didn't they?
Do you know, in football, like in most other things in life, luck takes a part, and I think Lady Luck went their way a little bit. I mean, they couldn't have assumed that he would bring on somebody quite new to take that penalty that hadn't been on the pitch before. That was lucky for Italy that they did that. That one piece of luck could have, if it had gone the other way, could have changed the whole result. I think they were lucky in terms of the way the referee saw the fouls and the sending off of that one guy, wasn't it?
For Chiellini, could have easily been sent off. Yeah, the referee didn't do it.
Takes a part. Luck took a part for Italy to beat Spain. So people say you make your luck. Maybe you do, and maybe you don't. But I do. But what I believe is that we are more motivated now to get somewhere in the World Cup, and that would be brilliant.
And let me
And
ask you this actually about
Euro,
which might be a different narrative going after last night. On Harry Kane, obviously, you mentioned before it's looking more likely he's going to stay at Spurs, which it is increasingly. But how do you think this loss would have affected him and his mindset now going into the new season? Because it's another final. He's lost now a Euros final, a Champions League final. He lost the League Cup final last season, plus quite a few semi-finals. The World Cup semi-final, obviously 3 years ago for England, and a few semi-final defeats for Tottenham. Do you think losing again yesterday and yet another final, yet another disappointing end to a good journey for Kane, do you think he's going to start thinking, look, he needs... obviously, he has already started thinking that, but do you think it's going to drive him on to maybe push for a move more after a defeat yesterday, or do you think it hasn't changed too much having lost another final?
I think if I'll give you my gut feel. I think that he likes Nuno. I think he's pleased with Nuno, and I think he wants to give Spurs another chance. I think he loves Spurs, and I think if he had a season where we did get something, and we did at least show much more promise from the young, because we got a young team, haven't we? We've got some promise in some of the new people that are going to be brought in, and we get some new people. And we get some creativity from Nuno and a proper building of a team. My gut feel is he really would love to stay. I think he wants to stay. I think he wants to be with his family as well. He's been with us a long time. I mean, it's only a year ago he signed a contract. Wasn't it a year ago when he signed
a couple of years ago he signed a 6-year deal?
Yeah. So obviously at that point you thought that it was good. And who's this guy that's just come up on my Google Chrome? Tomiyasu?
Tomiyasu. What have they said about him? Is he going to sign? Is it?
Matt Hayes is saying that he's joining.
Yeah. Oh, Matt said, okay. Maybe there's something breaking. I can't really see at the moment. But yeah, hopefully we get him over the line as well. But it must be hard, right, for Kane to just keep, he's 28 years old now. I think he's just about to turn 28. And he just keeps being the bridesmaid but not the bride every single time. And for a player with such ability, who's always the best player for England or for Tottenham so consistently, how hard must it be for him to keep getting so close every time and just not getting over the line?
I think that when you're in love, and it's very hard to get out of it. And I think he's in love with the team, the people, and probably with Levy. But I think he does believe that we've got opportunities. And that's my gut feel. That's my feel. Listening, I heard him talking in the press conference this morning, and he was pretty positive. And I think, I think in a way he was the bride. He wasn't a bridesmaid. Okay, it's just that he didn't get the cup, but they were there together. At the final. That's no mean feat, and I think he achieved that. And I think he would have been gone by now if he didn't have some feeling that he wanted to stay. I know they're arguing about that they're not offering enough money, but I believe that he would have gone because Levy would have said, "Look, if your heart's not in it, there's no way we'll keep you." So I'm positive about it.
Okay, and you're looking forward to the new season now. Now the Euros are finally over. It's been a great month, but you're getting positive now about Spurs for next season. Are you starting to get ready?
That's what I was just saying. I think this whole thing's been the whole thing that you've done, and a lot of other people have been saying is that how good Southgate's been and how he's organised things, and I think we'll copy it. And copy that determination and copy that way of looking after players. I mean, what I've read about Nuno, he's the same thing. He really does care about his players, as Southgate did, and I think that's so important. I mean, I remember who's the Leicester, the owner of Leicester, when they won, how he came on to the pitch and thanked everybody. He really cares, and I think Nuno will be the same. And because they learn from him and they learn from Southgate. So yeah, I'm positive about the season, and I'm looking forward to it. And the more positive we are in the season, the more positive we are Tottenham TV is going to be.
That's definitely true.
Looking forward to seeing that grow.
All right, Grandpa. Always good to speak to you as always. It was a pleasure having you come along to all our events as well. It was great having you there. Luckily, you made it out of there. Some people were worried at one point, but luckily you did make it out of the crowd. And I hope you had a good time as well. And it was a great Euros, and it's always been great to speak to you. And obviously, we're going to get your opinions a lot more of your opinions throughout leading to next season.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Yeah, love you
too, Grandpa. Love you too, Grandpa. All right, that was my grandpa. Always as positive as ever, and I think he has some very good points to make on what Southgate's been doing, and I think it's easily overlooked the fact that we've now had 2 tournaments in a row, which despite not winning, the nation has been captured by it. Cultivated by these two. I don't know what the right word is, but I think they've captured the hearts of the nation, I would say, for those last 2 tournaments, and they've really got everyone believing and everyone enjoying watching England again. Because let's be honest, for a while, it wasn't enjoyable watching England. No one really enjoyed. We obviously enjoyed the tournaments, but England would always let you down quite badly, and a lot of people were becoming apathetic. And even Southgate said that, when he first took the job, people were throwing paper aeroplanes into the crowd and whatnot. But now it's a different matter. Everyone loves watching England. People are buzzing around the England games all the time, and I think nowadays people are a lot more excited about the national team and internationals, and I think that's very important, and I think that's definitely something that's been overlooked by people who have been criticising Gareth Southgate and maybe saying he doesn't play good enough football or all these kind of things they level at Southgate. I think that a lot of these things are overlooked as to where we were when he took over, and I've maybe even been guilty of not giving Southgate at times the credit that he deserves when we've been winning, but not winning with the nicest football and only winning 1-0 here and there and things like that. But, we're building something. I think we're building something, and I think that's very important to acknowledge, and I think it's very important for people to notice that I think England are going places. A semi-final and a final in consecutive tournaments. I don't think we've ever done that in our history. Gotten to 2. When was the last time we ever got to 2 consecutive semi-finals in any tournament? I don't remember that ever happening. So I think that's definitely important to acknowledge. And I think people think our history maybe is even better than it is, because I think this is one of the best teams we've ever had. But let's get Brian Daigle on. Always good to hear Brian Daigle's opinions, as usually on Tottenham. But let's let him. I want to let him say what he's got to say on the England national team. So, Brian, you're on air. Lovely to see you as always.
How are you doing, Simeon?
I'm doing okay. I mean, it was a long night last night. Didn't end the way we all wanted it to end, but I was prepared for an all-nighter. Didn't quite happen for me. Unfortunately, the party had to end early. But what was your thoughts going to yesterday? Where were you watching it first and foremost?
So before I talk about that, I just want to say Grandpa started on it. As you know, whenever I get a chance to plug you and Big You and Ben and all the backroom staff at WeAreTottenhamTV, I always will do. And what you did for the whole Euros, not just your content in the studio, but the events you put on near Wembley, coming out of a pandemic, putting this on for people, you are honestly incredible. The whole lot of you are unbelievable and a shining example of what the Tottenham community, what football is all about, and what you've done to go out of your way to make things accessible. So all of you, Ben, Simeon, and everyone in the back end, thank you, not just for me on not the other side of the world, but thousands of miles away, but for everyone worldwide that tunes in. And I think you're incredible. So
thank you, Brian. Much appreciated.
So, it's always a pleasure, mate. Honestly, people mention your name with me, they get locked in for a 4-hour conversation where I just pick you guys up. So you're guaranteed that. So the game, yeah. So I went to watch it with Brian Ireland. There's a little bar downtown called the Done Right Inn. It's a British pub owned by a London Spurs fan. They have like a back terrace, which is all roof. The actual pub itself, the front part is closed off because you can't, obviously, we're getting there, but we're not just there. So we went there. There was a big community of us. And the worst thing about watching that game was the bar next to us was watching it live on the sport channel we have here, and this guy was watching it via a stream online. He has an IPTV, whatever. So we had like a 15-second delay. So we heard the roar for the goal 15 seconds before it went in. And you got to remember, Italy had a corner, so we're like, oh no, here we go. And then obviously that went off, and then it was ecstasy. But we also had it for the penalties. It was a great atmosphere in the pub. It was great. It went to penalties, and listen, it's never good when England goes to penalties. But as you were just saying before, England have never, ever got to a semi-final and a final. Even when Sir Ralph Ramsey got to the final, we went out the next round in the 70 World Cup in the quarterfinals to Germany. So it's never happened. And you've got to remember, when you look back in the past, we've had the managers that had the so-called golden generation, and they couldn't get to a semi-final. Gareth Southgate has been fantastic. Do I think he's suited for club management? No. International, he's done a fantastic job, and he needs a lot of respect. And I'm very, very proud of what England did. It's just a shame the way it ended.
Yeah, massive shame. But I agree with you on Southgate. I think he should be very, very proud. And I feel like he's taken his own experiences and he's brought that into management. He's definitely helped some players through some mental barriers. And I think as well, the way he sympathised and it was looking after the players who missed the penalty, I think that comes from a place of a player that was his legacy pretty much before this tour. Well, not this tour, before coming into England management, his England legacy was missing that penalty in '96.
Yep.
So I think that he definitely comes from that place of knowing what it feels like. And I think that's very, very important for the players to know that and have a man behind them who's going to back them all the way in that sense. But looking at this squad, we had the youngest squad in the tournament, and we did get to the final, although obviously we didn't get over the line. But, so it's easy to look at this and say, first final in 55 years, it's a massive missed opportunity and it's going to be a while till we get another opportunity like that. But on the flip side, could you definitely see this as a platform for this young squad to grow on and to build on and to learn from, and something that we could definitely take into the World Cup as a massive positive?
100%. I mean, Simeon, you got to look at it. When we went out of the semi-finals in the World Cup in Russia, it wasn't expected. We didn't get to the final hurdle, and they learned from that. You learn when you win, you obviously get that experience. But when you lose, which is the more important experience, you learn, okay, I need to move on from here. What did I do? And you take that experience with you. Then we got to the final, and we've taken that experience. We went one step further. And yes, as much as I would love to say, yeah, they've gone back as winners now, they're experienced, they know how to win. It's going to be an invaluable lesson for them. It's going to be, look at, I'm not comparing now, before people go mad in the chat, I'm not comparing any England player with who I'm about to say, Lionel Messi, who'd won everything domestically, tore it apart, could not get over the line for international, just could not do it. There was the one thing when people said Ronaldo has now done it, he's now done it. He's experienced a lot of highs and he's experienced a lot of lows, and he takes things from the game. Now, I don't believe, I'm not just saying it because he's an Arsenal player, Saka should not have taken a penalty. And if he did, it shouldn't have been the fifth one, which it was very, very decisive. If you're taking the fifth penalty, it could be winner takes all, or in this case, the exact opposite. I applaud him for having the balls, the guts, and everything to stand up and do it. I think there should have been something that said, listen, you're going to take a penalty, but maybe it's a bit further down the line when we get to the places where obviously past the 5. And it's experience they're all going to take. And we've got to take, you've got to look back and take it. And if you're the FA and you're looking and you're having that meeting with Gareth Southgate to evaluate what he's done and what his coaching staff have done and it's progression. It's progression. And there's no two ways about it. Penalties, as Bob Spur said, it's kind of a crapshoot. It's kind of, it's like Rashford. The thing I've got against Rashford is I don't recall, and I wonder if anyone in the chat has seen, him ever taking a run up for a penalty like that. It's normally a straight run, bang. It's never, and to try and pull something out of a game of this magnitude, to me, was stupid.
Well, the only thing I would say that is the run-up kind of did work because he did send the keeper the wrong way. He just he just skewed it a bit wide, so he was a bit unlucky in that aspect, wasn't he?
Well, with that, you say that, Simon, but if you look at it, the one I keep going back to is, do you remember when he scored that winning penalty against PSG when they were in the Champions League? It was away, and he scored a last-minute penalty to put them through. He just ran up to the ball and absolutely walloped it.
Yeah.
And let's be serious, as crucial as that penalty was, nothing was as crucial as that penalty. And nothing will be in his career. I mean, talking of penalties, mate, Harry Maguire.
What a penalty that was, right into the roof of the net.
Right in the roof of the net. They showed the replay and he smashed the camera. That was just phenomenal. I mean, for him to stand up and just smash it, what a penalty.
Yeah, I thought my stream went, I thought our TV, so not because we weren't streaming it, we were watching on TV, but we thought our TV went dead at that point. I was scared. I was like, oh my God, everyone's here. But luckily it was just Harry Maguire hitting the camera. I was getting scared for a minute.
Exactly. I mean, there's do you know what? And there's one player I really want to highlight. And yesterday he was absolutely outstanding. And I hate saying this because of the club he plays for, but Declan Rice was absolutely phenomenal.
He
really was. I mean, obviously it's West Ham. It's and I know if Matt Hayes and the Irish Hotspur are in here, and anyone who's Irish, obviously West Ham and him turning Ireland down, obviously he is like a big Judas to them. But he was like out of this world. Out of this world.
In terms of the actual game, though, like obviously England did take that early lead, and then Italy definitely grew into confidence, and you could see why they're one of the best teams in Europe at the moment, because the way they retook control of that game, and they had that spell where it almost seemed like it was inevitable they were going to score, despite they didn't create too many chances. Pickford did have to make a couple of saves. But when you see that period, do you think maybe Southgate could have done more to regain control, or do you feel like when you're playing, or do you feel that that's just sometimes when you're playing against a team who are as good as Italy are, they're always going to have a spell like that, and sometimes it's all about riding the storm. We just weren't able to do that.
So do you know what? When he started off with the back five, I was kind of happy because one of the things I'd said on Tottenham away was one thing we've got to look at as a main focal point of Italy was how incredible they have been from shooting from long distance. And we need to make sure that there's no space for them to do that. And to an extent, we did that at the beginning. The early goal was incredible and the pressure was on, and it looked so easy for us in the first 20, 30 minutes. And then obviously Italy and their experience and everything started to come through. I mean, when it comes to Chiellini, I would literally, if I was Espirito Santo right now, I would go to Paratici and say, listen, what the hell are you feeding Chiellini in Italy? Because that man's stamina, that man's literally, he's like 83 years old, and he had the stamina. He was everywhere. And he was immense. And you just saw them starting to grow and grow and grow. And as they say, it's more, you're expanding more energy when you haven't got the ball as opposed to when you have. And Italy saw that, okay, they wised up and said, right, they're doing this. We need to think of another way. And in the second half, like, Gareth Southgate has pretty much got everything right during this tournament. And I think if there's one thing I would have changed, it was maybe to have gone to a back four a little bit earlier. Because it seemed to make a difference, because they combated our back three. It'd be like, okay, you've done that. Let's get this back four, or get back four and get more attacking. But it just wasn't meant to be. And you look at it, Mancini has done a fantastic job at Italy, phenomenal. Yeah. And then you look at it, and we were talking about this. And I said, when you look at the two managers, we were doing like you did a combined 11. And then when it came to the manager, would you pick Southgate and I went for Mancini. And the only reason I went for Mancini was that Man City QPR game, when the chips were really, really there. And those crucial decisions, and he got it over the line. And that kind of summed up what happened here. And I honestly think Gareth Southgate is going to take a lot from this experience. The England team, the World Cup will come in. Saka, Rashford, Grealish, Foden will be another year and a half older. with that experience, I honestly think we're going to go from strength to strength. But like I said, Italy, I still don't understand how Chiellini wasn't sent off for the pulling of his shirt on Saka, and then Jorginho on Grealish. They should have been, without a question of a doubt, both red cards. Italy are known for the dark arts. They played the game, and unfortunately, we just couldn't handle that part. And the one thing I will say as well is the refereeing for the whole tournament has been phenomenal, and I don't think the ref was the best. He didn't have the best performance. We can't blame it on everything on the ref, but I don't think he can look back on it and say, do you know what, I had a good final.
Yeah, I know. I thought yesterday, actually, the referee was a few times quite very harsh on a few of the England players, and I agree. I thought Sterling should have had a penalty, and the most annoying thing is
more than the Denmark one.
Yeah, and I thought the most annoying thing is he should have had a penalty, and then about a minute later, he gives Italy a free kick right on the edge of the box, and it was less of a foul than what he just said wasn't a penalty down the other end, and that was one of the most frustrating things. But let me ask you this, Brian, because it's a bit Spurs related as well. Harry Kane. Another final defeat for him. Another day where he has to end the night with a disappointing interview and saying how he's going to come back stronger and saying how he got a lot to be proud of but nothing to show for it and all that kind of stuff. Well, how do you think he's going to be affected by yet another final defeat? This time for his country. Do you think like he's obviously we know he kind of wants a new challenge. That's not a surprise to everyone. But do you think this will add fuel to that fire?
So, first of all, what I want to talk about with Harry Kane is I'm sick and tired. Everyone was saying, like, I heard Rio Ferdinand and Gina saying, put some respect on Sterling's name, put some respect. Harry Kane turned up yesterday. Mm-hmm. Yes, he didn't score, but his pass to set up the goal, his hold-up play, his dropping deep, his everything. Yes, he did not score. He didn't get the service again. We saw it against Germany. We saw it against Ukraine. He got the service. He got a chance. He scored. Now, I'm not saying that Harry Kane, because he's Harry Kane, should score every game, but I think his hold-up play for the first 70 minutes was terrific. His general play was fantastic. And compared to the other finals where we know he's been injured and he hasn't turned up, he simply hasn't. I feel that he did in this way. And we see Kane at very, very close quarters. And we know all other fans, no matter who they are, if Kane scores, he's a Tottenham player. Oh, yeah, but he's going to be a striker. And if he doesn't, the claws are out. And that's what's happened. In regards to how Harry Kane feels, that picture with him with his wife afterwards when she's in tears and I feel so sorry for this man. It's like he must be saying, what do I need to do? Am I cursed? No matter what I do, I just can't get that final piece over the line. I still think Harry Kane's going to go. Do I want him to go? Hell no. Hell no. Do I think he will go? Yes. And I said this yesterday. What I think is going to happen is I completely agree that the minimum price should be 150 million or a deal near that amount with players added on. Whatever way you do it, and obviously it's attracting the player and getting them to come here. But I just have the feeling that come near the end of it, Man City or someone might say, okay, do you know what? Here's 120 million, straight cash. Here we go. And he'll say, okay, it's at the end. I'm going to take it. We've got to start looking at it. He's now, 28? His value is going to go down next season, whether we win a trophy or not, because it's another year down. His ankle, we all know, as much as we hate to say it, at some point he's going to get an ankle injury. We just know it. If we don't get a replacement striker or not a replacement, like we have Vinicius, he's going to get overplayed again. So I'm just worried. I'm really worried that he's going to go. Whether he may say, I'm really, really happy, or not really, really happy, but okay, I'm going to give it another year. But money talks. And we all know when it comes to money talks, look who we have in charge. And with that, like I said, money talks.
Yeah, but do you think yesterday losing another final would that affect his how he thinks about it in a negative way, or do you think it won't make it too much of a difference in that sense? Because it plays into the narrative even more that he needs trophies and needs to leave to win trophies, and again it's just yet another final. I think that's his third final now, is it, or fourth final in his career, and yet again he just can't seem to get that trophy over the line. And I just wonder if that will play into that narrative that he needs to leave again.
So you got to look at it. Let's take it this way: that people were talking. It was a great debate on social media and all the channels. That if he'd won a trophy, does he say, "Okay, I've won one trophy. Let me stay at Tottenham for 1 year"? Or does he go, "Oh, do you know what? I love this winning feeling. This has fueled my appetite, and now I want this. I'm craving this even more. I'm going to move." And now you've got to look at it the opposite way. It's like, does he go, "Do you know what? I haven't won here. I love my club. I love Tottenham Hotspur," which we all know he does. "I want to give it 1 more year to try and win it with Tottenham. I want 1 more year to try and win it." Or does he say, "Do you know what? I just can't get this done, whether it be at the club or the country. I need to move to another club." Or even another country, maybe. Not saying that he's going to go because we know Barca and Real haven't got the money, whatever. Whatever way you look at it, it's the same. It's kind of the same thing, but just kind of reverse it. Now you've got to look at it and say, does he come back to Tottenham? Does Nuno have an effect on him? Does Paratici have an effect on him? I think it's crucial right now that whilst he's on his well-deserved holiday and spending time with his wife and 3 kids and getting away from it all, and that Tottenham makes some strong moves in the market. Tomiyasu in. None of this 2 million.
It's always going to be 2 million and what 500,000, and that's it.
I'm trying very, very hard here, Simeon. I'm trying very, very hard here not to go into a rant with this man. Believe me, it's really hard. That's why I can't wait. We're closer to the NFL protest. We're closer to me coming home. Getting to see you and Ben and everyone that I need to see. But if Harry Kane wants to, if he's thinking maybe I stay, maybe I don't, right now, whilst he's on holiday, let's start making movements in the market. Let's get players in, and most importantly, get players out that we know we don't need there. So he goes, wait a minute. I like what I see here. I can't confess to knowing much about Tomiyasu, and I've done let's have a quick look on YouTube. And what I will say, I mean, obviously it doesn't show everything he's saying or doing, but his dedication to the tackle, his passing I've seen, and a couple of the goals he scored are belters. And he does look like a promising talent. He really does. I can't confess to say, oh yeah, I've watched the Italian league and I know all of this. He looks. I'm here. I've had to do a Danny Rose and Google him, but he looks like a promising youngster. He really does. And this is what we've got to do now. We've got to make moves in the market with real intent, get the players in, and maybe Harry will say, all right, 1 more year. Like I said, do I think he's staying? I really don't. I would love to come on once the window shuts and say, do you know what? I was wrong. Well done, Tottenham. We've kept him. And we'll see. We'll see. But like I said, now, unfortunately, we go from one depressing day to back to our normal depression.
Depressing year, I think, is coming up.
Exactly. Here we go. It's time to focus on Tottenham.
It was that. Did you ever see that clip of Højbjerg crying after the quarterfinal, after he made it to the semi-final during the Euros? And someone posted that clip and saying when you realise you have to go back to watching Tottenham, and it's just that clip of just Højbjerg bursting into tears.
Do you know what I have to say to you? I'd like your input on this. I would say Nuno Espirito Santos, the first thing he should do is make Højbjerg captain. And the reason I say that is Lloris, whether we like it or not, is going at the end of the season because his contract's running up. He's not signing an extension. Harry Kane, we know he doesn't really know if he's coming or going, and at the start of the season. So why do you want a captain that also, you know, he's going at the end of the season? You don't know if Kane's staying or going. And I've always been one that I don't believe in goalkeepers being captains. It's hard for them to communicate on and off, like during the pitch. And you need warriors. You need warriors like a Højbjerg. If you look at the great central midfielder captains, you've got the the Lampards, unfortunately the Vieiras, not Lampards, I mean Keanes. And you look at Ledley King, and you look at these central defenders or midfielders. Not only are they great captains, but they're easier to communicate to everyone. And I just feel that Højbjerg, who has had a sensational Euros, and he gives everything. He gives everything. And what do you reckon, Simeon?
I mean, I understand the thinking about it. He's one who's definitely committed to the club, and he's definitely one who's in it for the long haul, and he clearly cares. He clearly is one who is going to get people up by the bootstraps. He's going to get into players if they're not performing to a certain level, and he's also going to pump people up and make sure everyone's doing their job. And I think he could easily be a future captain. Would I strip Hugo or Kane of the captaincy if they're both here next season to give Højbjerg the captaincy? I don't think I'll do that, because I don't know what kind of message that sends out. It's kind of sending out a message that these guys aren't committed, so so they shouldn't be captain. I think that's. Then if that's the case, they shouldn't be part of the squad if they're not committed enough to captain the team if they are captain. So I think it would send the wrong message out to the players if they do stay, and to the rest of the squad. So I would keep them on, but I think with a view of potentially having Højbjerg as captain.
I'll give you Kane.
Yeah, because I think if Kane stays, and then because Kane's our vice captain, so if Kane stays and you strip him of the captaincy while staying, you're kind of admitting he's staying very reluctantly and he doesn't want to be here, right?
So there you go. Do you know what? On that level, I would take it off of Hugo, make Kane captain. That would be a clear indication that you know he's staying, and you know he's there. And Højbjerg vice captain. And then obviously if Kane goes the next season, if he does stay or whatever, then Højbjerg. And it's not just because I think Lloris, I think he needs to go anyway. We're in a bad situation. If we're talking about our striker maybe going with Lloris, it's like when we sell him, do we sell him now and get a keeper in? Do we buy a keeper now and put him on the bench and say, listen, you're number 2 this season, but number 1? Because if Lloris leaves at the end of the season for free, every club in the world knows how badly we need a goalkeeper, and the price tag goes up. So this is an area that's really got to be looked into. So if Lloris, and honestly, I think a lot of people say that Lloris is going next season regardless, and I think it's time. And I believe as well that Nuno doesn't believe in keepers, even though he was one, being captains. So I could see Lloris being stripped of it anyway.
Interesting. Okay. Well, look, Brian, I could talk to you all day, but unfortunately, I think there are some other people waiting in the back. Is there anyone waiting? I think there are some other people. Yeah, there are.
You've got a few, and I've got to go back to work, mate.
Sorry, I'm keeping you in your lunch break. You're taking an extended lunch break, I see.
Mate, listen, you guys, as I always say, mate, you always have me, and I'll always come on when I'm available. I was available.
Even if you're not available and you're working, you'll still come on, apparently.
That's it, mate. That's my dedication and commitment to you guys, and always will be.
Luckily, your boss is on Spurs fans, eh? Otherwise, I might be watching. But anyway, Brian, it's always a pleasure, mate. And it's always good to speak to you. And we'll have you on again soon, I'm sure.
Oh, you most certainly will. And I'll end it as I always do. Leave you out.
Leave you out. Nice one, Brian. Always, I can speak to Brian all day. I kind of get lost in my chat to Brian, and we're kind of just sitting here. We're talking for like an hour, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we should probably get someone else on. Probably give someone else a chance to speak. But yeah, I mean, I think he makes some brilliant points. Brian, always love chatting to him. But let's get the Id kid on. Where is he? Over in America, right?
Yeah, I'm in Miami right now.
Over in Miami. Were you watching the Euros last night?
I actually support England more than United States.
Why is that? Tell me why.
Because we don't win anything. we're pretty much. I don't feel the same amount of passion. As I say, I'm United States by blood, but England by heart.
They say Americans don't like football because they're no good at it. So that's why the US tend to stay away. They tend to only American football they can claim to be the best in the world because it's only played in America. So were you rooting for England yesterday? Were you gutted when Saka finally missed that penalty and went to Italy? Like, what were your feelings when that happened?
I was in tears actually. I mean,
Wow.
literally, I was basically for Harry Kane. I mean, that guy. One the pictures that you see of his wife and him crying. I mean, I can't have words to describe it. The effort that guy puts into this game, like he's the perfect professional. He does everything right. There's not one he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't have a tattoo on his skin. He's the perfect athlete and he does everything right to win. Every single thing that he does is to improve his game and there's no reason why he shouldn't win a trophy with Tottenham or with his nation. But he always gets super unlucky and either with his nation or with his club, he always comes short.
I know, and it's like literally, I think that's 4 finals now, and I think yes, he hasn't scored, but I think in general, I think he has usually played very well, and it's so tough for him when he's such an elite player, and he always does so much. 4 goals in the 3 knockout games leading up to the final yesterday. And how much must it hurt him to keep getting so close and not being able to get over the line? And how many more do you think punches he can take before it really starts getting to him that this trophy, he just can't seem able to get it? Like, do you think with each final he loses, it's just something epic away, or do you think it drives him on?
I think obviously Harry Kane, when you look at him, everything for him is motivation. He's one of the best, I think, motivational. He gets motivated by anything pretty much. Everything they've thrown at him, he's not a great player in big games. He scores in big games. He's not a great player. He hasn't done great in the Euros. He scores a bunch of goals in the Euros. He doesn't. He even with months of the years, you look at he doesn't do good in September. Scores like 10 goals in September. Like he is just everything they throw at him. But then when it comes to team things, like they're telling that they can't win trophies, but he did everything right. I mean, he scored his penalty. He played well. Otherwise, people are saying that he didn't have a great game, but I honestly think that he played good. And then so when it comes to the team criticism, it's not Harry Kane's fault. I mean, he does everything for Tottenham. He's a defender. He's a goalkeeper. He's a right back. He's a left back. He's a midfielder. He's a striker. Everything he does. So there's nothing more that he could do. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't have. If we basically, there are a lot of people saying there's a saying. I wish I had 11 Harry Kanes. We do have 11 Harry Kanes because he plays in every single position.
Definitely, I completely agree. But it was so. I completely agree with Harry Kane. Sorry.
Grandpa's in the background saying that not in goal. I've seen him play in goal before one time.
I saw him play. It wasn't very good in goal, but I've definitely seen him play in goal before. I think he let in a goal once, but he scored a hat-trick and then had to go in goal after scoring a hat-trick. So that just tells you everything about Harry Kane. But do you think England have a great chance now going to the World Cup, or do you feel like this loss in the final of the Euros will have a negative effect going forward?
I think it will have a negative effect. Especially, I said it when I was watching the final, told everybody, if we concede a goal, our heads are going to go down. We're a very young side. We have to remember the average age is probably like 30. I mean, like 25 or something. And then you have...
It's the youngest team in the tournament.
Exactly. And then another thing that I don't understand, Jack Grealish, why on earth is he coming on so late in the game? I mean, he's one of the best players we have. And it gets so irritating. He always changes the game. I understand maybe you bring him on as a sub, but then he brings him on in overtime, which I don't understand that because you look at it and he's our best player. And what if Italy would have scored in the normal 90 minutes? He would have not made a difference. And you look Germany, he was basically the key player. I would have given them the man of the match.
I agree.
He does. I mean, sometimes Southgate. I mean, he's had a great tournament, Southgate, with all his decisions and stuff. But this, I didn't really understand it that well. But since we have a young squad, I think it's going to be a big stain on the shirt for a long time. If we would have been a little bit more experienced, I think we could have gone farther.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that was the difference Italy made. I think it was just that know-how, that able to see things out, they're able to ride through storms and gain control of the game back, and I think make niggly fouls at the right times and just be a bit streetwise. I think that was what Italy did yesterday during the game, and that's exactly what I think it was a bit of a kryptonite, I think, in a way, for England, because I think England, with that young squad that we have, just didn't have that level of streetwise that Italy were yesterday, and they're able to make crucial fouls at very crucial times, and I think it made a big difference. But in terms of Harry Kane, do you think he's going to be staying after losing the final yesterday? Do you think that would have affected him negatively in terms of his search for a new challenge, losing yet another final for his country, or do you think it won't make too much of a difference to the situation?
I think the Harry Kane situation is down to Daniel Levy. He signed the 6-year contract. So at the end of the day, when it comes to Daniel Levy, we know how stubborn that man is. Mm-hmm. So he's not going to accept anything under 100 mil. So now all the other chairmen's trying to get Harry Kane, trying to buy Harry Kane, and Daniel Levy's not accepting it. This could be, Harry Kane, but the thing is that if Levy doesn't accept an offer and Kane really wants to go, is he that type of player that would just sit in the penalty spot? If he was just sit in the middle on the pitch, sit down, and not play anything, and you'll just not play, because I think he loves the club, and I don't think he'll beat that type of player. I don't think he'll do a Danny Rose, but
yeah, I agree.
It's hard. I wish we could match his ambitions as much. He's outgrown us. He really has outgrown us, and if he had the decision, I think it's down to Levy. But if he had the decision, I think he would leave.
I agree, unfortunately. Only final question for you, and it's an important one. Who are you going to be supporting at the World Cup then?
England, of course.
England, ahead of the US?
Maybe not ahead of the US, but I'm pretty sure the US will go out early. They'll
so exactly, you'll have England just as backup, in the knowledge that after the group stages, England will be your team anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. Love it. Good to have you on as always, mate. And I'll speak to you again soon.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Exactly. That's what we like to hear. That was Yid Kid, as always, giving his input. I love it that he's picking England ahead of on par with the US. I didn't think most Americans would do that, but he's definitely been taken with the England team. Let's get Jamie on. Jamie's in the back end, isn't he? Yeah, let's get him on. Hey, Jamie, you all right?
Hey, sorry. Yeah, good, thank you. You're right.
Nice to hear from you again. It was a difficult evening yesterday. Went down to the wire. The luck didn't go our way. It fell a different way, unfortunately. Italy ending up winning the Euros. Where were you watching the game, and what were your feelings about it?
I was at home actually with the family. I actually watched all the England games at home. I just felt like I could really watch them properly and observe.
I think maybe you thought, if you watch enough of them at home, maybe it will come home, but it didn't quite happen.
Yeah, like a superstition sort of thing. With everything that's been going on, I just thought maybe this year watch it at home with the family a bit differently, and I really enjoyed it. And I think you see more of the game. Like, I know you can't be the atmosphere in pubs and stuff, but I find I miss a lot of the game when I'm in the pub, and so you can really dilute the game. And we were so close, and I think it was a game of two halves in a way. I felt we could have kept the pressure on them a bit more. I think Southgate set up not to lose the game, and I don't know. I still regret that a bit. I still think, like we went out in the Germany game, I felt if we were just a bit more on the front foot, kept that pressure on, I think Italy looked rattled in those first 20 minutes. You can see the concerns on the players' faces, the manager, and I wish we just kept that tempo a little bit higher. I think it could have been a different story. But as the game grew, we gave more possession to Italy. And like Brian said earlier, when the team's got the ball and team without the ball, you're going to tire, no matter, even if you're a young team.
Jamie, do you think, when you look back at 2018, the semi-final against Croatia followed a very similar pattern to the game yesterday? Early lead, a few flurry of early chances, then once the game settled down, Croatia took control and deservedly got back in the game and went through. Yesterday took a very eerily similar pattern to that game. Do you think maybe there are lessons still to be learned that we haven't learned yet, that maybe we suffered from 2018 and we learned some lessons, but maybe we haven't completely learned all our lessons yet?
Yeah, I agree with that because I think we're improving. I think the confidence is a lot better. We've gone obviously one step further. So I think they are adapting. When it still comes down to it, I still feel that they're making the same mistakes, because teams that have been there or a bit more experienced, they know how to play, and it's 90 minutes. So there's always that saying like, "Oh, you scored too early," so to speak. And I think with each of tournament that passes, I think they will eventually learn that, because there's a lot of obviously expectation, and you can't blame them. You score a goal, the pressure's on. You don't want to lose. They're young, but I just at the start of the tournament, it's always the same. It's always, oh, there's no expectation. It's a young squad, so they've got the freedom to play. And when they do that, they play much better. They put teams on the ropes. But when it gets to semis and finals, it's understandable. It's just the mentality just changes, and I think it's a shame. I think they should just go all out. And I think there's certain players you need in that team that will do that. And for me, Jack Grealish is one of those players. He shows no fear. He'll drive at them, and I think he's Harry Kane's best partner. Jack Grealish and Kane. I mean, obviously we could have had him at Spurs. That would have been fantastic. But that guy, he just knows how to play the game. Him and Kane, they're the two players who know how to play that game. And I think we missed him a bit there. Even a Foden, I think, is pretty good. And yeah, but what I like is it's obviously a young team. I like how anyone can get into this team, if you know what I mean. Obviously, the starting 11 will be the main boys, but I feel with Southgate, he gives the opportunity. If you play well, you're playing well for your club. It doesn't matter who you are, what team you are now, how old you are. If you play well, you can at least get into the squad. And I think he's the right manager because he's a good manager to, mentor young people, is in particular. Because young people, they need that confidence. They need that arm around their shoulder. I think he's got the right temperament. He's not saying he's soft, but he's just, I think, the nicest guy. He's the right guy to just, manage a young team. And I'm glad since 2016 that we scrapped, the so-called big names, the experience, because when we played teams like Italy in the past, they do the same tricks. So people can say, oh, it's a young team. They're not, like you said, streetwise, but they've been doing it to all the teams, whether you're older or younger. Italy will always play that way. And England don't play that way. We just, half the time we don't do the tricks of like the Italians. But I'm just really glad that, they worked hard. They gave it everything, The whole squad, I can't fault anyone. I think they all worked for each other. And I like how there's no big names. You got Harry Kane, but he's like the rest of them. He's one of the lads, and there's no like all these big names. It's just everyone's a team, a unit. They all help out. And I think they're going to be even more stronger. Look at France. They lost that final. They went on to win the World Cup.
That's true.
I see that with England. They're knocking on the door. I said about Portugal. I said they were knocking on the door, and they've done it. And England are thereabouts, and I think they'll still be thereabouts. And I wouldn't be surprised if they won the World Cup now. In all truth.
All right, Jamie. Always great to speak to you. Look forward to speaking to you about Spurs upcoming. Well, I say I look forward to it, but depends how things go. We'll see how it goes leading into the season and how the summer goes, and Nuno and Kane, and there's a lot to sort out between now and the start of the season. But I'm sure you'll be with us every step of the way, and I look forward to it. But always good to speak to you, mate.
Yeah, I was just going to say I've had a good break from all that on the Euros, so and a nice rest.
Time to start crying again, I think. Need a good cry, probably.
It's just like depressing, and now it's like, oh no, another year.
Exactly.
But
There's one
hopefully
thing with England, depression with a bit of hope linked to it, but with Spurs, it's like depression with just like a endless pit.
10 months of it,
Exactly, it's
like,
an endless pit of depression with no end in sight, just like no light at the end of the tunnel. That's what we're jumping into now. But let's see how it goes.
Let's see. He might surprise us, Nuno.
You never know. You never know. We can hold our hope. We hold out and hope. But Jamie, nice to speak to you, mate, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Si. Take it easy, boys.
Nice one, mate.
Okay.
See you in a bit. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to jumping back into Spurs, but I think a bit of the unknown is a bit like, oh, maybe they can surprise us. Maybe something can happen. Maybe they can pull something out of the bag and, pull a trophy out of the bag for us. But they're in Tottenham. We'll probably lose in a final and get even more depressed. But, oh, God, here we are. Here we go. Someone's coming on to brag, isn't he? Someone's got a massive... The only person on our stream today with a massive smile on his face. David Harris. Come on, then. Irish Hotspur. Oh, David. I bet you were watching it with a massive smile on your face yesterday, watching the penalties being missed. Tell me what you were thinking.
Look, I don't want to come on and piss on everyone's parade. I know how hard it is after losing such a major game, especially after Champions League final. And I'm not going to do it. I'm actually going to give you credit, to be fair. You done so much better in the tournament than what I expected you would do, And I do think there's a lot of positives you can take from this. And to be honest with you, if I was an English fan, I'd be very, very proud of my team. Very proud of my team. And look, it is what it is. You got to the final. They're after giving you a great summer. They're after giving you a great summer. Okay, they fell at the last hurdle. Not going to lie, kind of was delighted that was, that gooner that missed. You know what I mean? But like I said, in a way, even Shakespeare couldn't write this script sim. You know what I mean? Letting England think it's coming home to the very last minute. But no, look, I have to say, credit where credit's due. You've had a great tournament, and the events you guys put on were absolutely phenomenal. I was watching the Denmark one, and it was bouncing through my screen.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, wasn't it? The scenes when we scored at that event. It was a shame you weren't there, David, because I'm sure you would have been right in the middle of it. Well, I say that. I don't know if you'd have been celebrating too much if England scored, but it was absolutely bouncing off the walls at the event, and I couldn't have wished for a better atmosphere and a better set of people to watch it with, because it was absolutely brilliant. But yeah, looking at the tournament, do you think, yes, England should be very proud of what they've done, and they got to the final, and I think all the England fans should definitely hold their heads up high with what they've seen. But do you think, from an outsider's point of view, that maybe looking at the World Cup in 2018 with the game against Croatia and looking at the game yesterday, it was very similar how the games went, and I think we kind of fell. There is an argument to say we did kind of fall into the same trap in a way after scoring early, sitting a bit too far deep throughout the rest of the game, putting too much pressure on ourselves, and letting the opposition dictate the game from after we scored. And in both games, the opposition took control and ended up getting back in the game and ended up going through and winning. So do you think maybe that's something Southgate has to learn from going to the next tournament, because that's two big games now where this kind of the same thing has happened?
Yeah, look, I do think in these, to be honest with you, I was a bit disappointed with some of Southgate's tactics this tournament, Sim, because for me, I think Sancho should have been starting. I think Foden should have been starting. I think Grealish should have been starting. I really do think he could have got all three of them into the team. And for me, you have the players to be playing on the front foot and just wipe teams off the floor, keep possession, play on the front foot. And I don't understand it. I can understand he's thinking look, Rice was phenomenal yesterday. Even Calvin Phillips was decent in midfield. But although Rice was breaking forward, right, a lot of the tournament, him and Calvin Phillips, they don't take the ball on the half turn, which you're not getting, which means you're not getting the ball to your players quick enough. Now, if you look at Harry Kane, right, the most assists and the most goals in the Premier League, what did Tottenham do? Get quick ball to him, not allow three, four defenders to get in and around him and get him with the ball back to the goal. We tried to get it out wide, get the ball into him and give him service. I don't think Gareth Southgate used Harry Kane as well as he should have. But I'll tell you the two differences I spotted in yesterday's game, Sim, is the dark arts. Now, look, whether people like it or not, it's a part of the game. Now, for me, for the first 20, 25 minutes, I actually think England had the upper hand in that. You could see Trippier, growling in people's faces and all. I was like, ooh, England look up for this. This could go England's way, especially because they were 1-0 up. And the Italy players didn't really bite to it. And then they just shithoused England for the rest of the game, to be honest with you. And I think England are too nice in that respect. I think they need to realise that they are a good team and have that bit about them, like that sort of like arrogance about them, And then the second part is Roberto Mancini changed it up tactically. Southgate was outdone tactically, and that's what allowed Italy to go forward. And you could see it coming towards the end of the half. Italy were just dominating the ball. England were penned back in, but England kept it tight. England were keeping it tight. But whatever happened after half time, I don't know. Maybe the occasion got to them. I'm not sure. But after half time, they weren't keeping it as tight as they were in the first half. And I think that's what ultimately cost them in the end. But I do think the dark arts is the major one. I think England need to start getting that swag and that arrogance about them and learn to delve deep with the dark arts, whether you agree with it or not. Unfortunately, all winning teams do it.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think you saw that moment right at the end of the game where Saka's running away from Chiellini and he just absolutely yanks his collar. He's like, you ain't going nowhere, son. And I think sometimes, you saw Chiesa like wriggle away from a few of the England defenders and get past him and then get a shot off on the edge of the box and stuff like that. And maybe we needed a bit of that. We needed someone to just say, no, son, I'm going to take a yellow card, but you're not going anywhere. And I think you're completely right. I think Italy kind of outplayed us in that sense. So they were a bit more streetwise than us, and they kind of just got through the game in a sense where they were able to do those fouls at the right time. They were able to stop England in their tracks, whereas England, I feel like when Italy came forward occasionally, they didn't quite do that, and they were a bit too nice, maybe, especially in the second half. I think you're absolutely spot on in that. But look, when you look at the penalties, first of all, what did you make of the double substitution just before the penalty shootout, bringing on Rashford and Sancho? I know they're both missed, but in theory, could it have been the right call? And obviously, I want to know what your opinion was of Saka taking that fifth penalty. I know you said you were happy you missed it, but why was he taking that penalty in the first place?
Look, with Sancho and Rashford, I firmly believe they should have been brought on before that. They could have nicked the goal for England with the pace. You have Bonucci and Chiellini, both at centre backs, right? 34 and 36, I believe. Now the thing is, you have them both sit there.
Yeah, sorry, David, you just dropped. Your levels dropped for a second. I'm struggling. It's just I can still faintly hear you, but it's completely gone faint. I don't know if it's your end or my end. Is it his end?
I'll go out and come back in.
All right. Yeah, it's just completely dropped quickly. All right. Yeah, come cut to me quickly. We're getting back on in a sec. He was going to go out and come back in, but yeah, I want to get David. I want to get let me know when he's back in the studio. But yeah, I want to get his thoughts on the penalties. There's a big contention of being a lot of fans yesterday as to what the thinking was behind having Saka as the fifth choice, and was it the right call to make two subs just for penalties when maybe it could have helped having given the players coming on a few more minutes to get the legs warm, and maybe even with the pace that they got with tiring Italian legs could have really hurt them. And I think that was maybe something that they should have looked into. He's back on? All right, let's get him back on. All right, David?
Can you hear me now?
That's better. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It just dropped a bit for some reason out of nowhere.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. As you were saying.
Yeah, on the penalties, I do think with Chiellini and Bonucci, going that full distance to the extra time, I don't understand why he didn't bring them on earlier in extra time and try and get the balls out wide and run at them. I don't understand why he didn't do that. And to bring them on just for penalties and ask them to step up for the biggest kick of their career without having any, kicking the ball or anything like that. It's a tough one to do. Now with Rashford, I was kind of confident when Rashford stepped up. He doesn't really miss that much for United, to be fair. Any penalty I've seen him take for United, I think he's rattled them, especially that one against PSG back in the Champions League that time under Mourinho. So he has took big pressure kicks. Sancho, I don't know. And with Saka, I'm not sure what the thinking was there to put the fifth penalty on a 19-year-old. Unfortunately, I think Southgate got that wrong. I really do. Look, I've seen Grealish tweet, I asked to take a penalty. He didn't put me in the first five. For me, when it comes to penalty takers, you put the more experienced lads there. The lads like these don't fail.
Oh, it's happened again. Sorry, it just happened again. Is there are you got something plugged in, like for audio?
No.
It's very strange. It just dropped again. I don't know why it keeps doing that. I can hear you very faintly. All right, thanks. It's very strange why that keeps happening. We'll try and get him back in a sec. But yeah, I think he has a good point when it comes to experience in those positions, because I think I was very perplexed why Southgate chose Saka to take that 5th penalty, because that was such an important kick. We had to score it to stay in the game. Jorginho had just missed, which he never misses, and I thought it was very peculiar why he chose a 19-year-old Saka when Grealish is very used to taking responsibility at club level. Sterling has taken penalties for Man City at club level. I've seen him take penalties. I've seen Grealish take penalties, and Saka's never taken a penalty before. So I think it's very peculiar why at that moment he chose Saka to take it. Anyway, David's back. Let's get him back on. Hey, David.
Well, yeah, I have it sorted now, but don't worry, I have a computer there ready to go, so we won't have this problem anymore.
All right, beautiful.
But yeah, no, I just think Southgate got the cause for the penalties all wrong, to be honest with you, and I think he could have been braver in extra time as well. I don't think Southgate has full trust in Grealish, Foden, Sancho, players like that. I really don't. I think he tried to stick with the tried and tested. I just hope he can find a way of getting Grealish and Foden in for the World Cup, because I do think he's have a very good shot at it.
Yeah, I agree. Do you, when you, as an Ireland fan, when you see England getting to their first final 55 years, but they don't quite get over the line, do you think, when you look at that, do you think, England have wasted a big opportunity to get a trophy, and it's not going to, and that opportunity doesn't come around very often? Or do you think, they got to the final, they got to the semi-final last time, and you know what, they're going to be a big threat in that World Cup, and it's something to build on?
To be honest with you, the thing I think that England kind of need to get in place for the World Cup, because they've sorted out the press. The press doesn't rip down the players in the squad like it used to do. Mm-hmm. They're not even as arrogant going into tournaments as they used to be. So they've sorted out the press. I think it's the fans, that they need to get everybody on side with going into World Cup. Don't get me wrong. I think, the fans have been amazing. But look, there's been some sort of stuff over the tournament with, the booing of the knee and all this sort of stuff. I think if they could get the fans on side 100% and believing in what they're trying to do, just believe in Gareth Southgate, I do think you have a real shot at the World Cup, because you have the camaraderie in the squad. It's like a club atmosphere created there. The press and everything else are on side. It's just getting the fans 100%, the whole country. Like, obviously, I know there's certain fans that are 100% on board, but just getting the whole country on board, I do believe it will make that bit of a difference. But the World Cup, I'd be excited for, to be honest with you, if I were you. Like, you look at Brazil, they're not great. You look at Argentina, okay, they won the Copa America the other day, but I still think they're beatable. Look, I think France, they got knocked out by Switzerland, so they're beatable. And he's got to the finals of the Euros, and look, okay, you lost to Italy, but I do believe if you could find a way of getting Grealish, Foden, and Sancho in there, and having that direct attacking threat, getting Grealish on the ball, because England are dangerous from set pieces. Every time you got a corner or free kick yesterday, I was a bit nervous, I'm not going to lie, because you have Stones and Maguire, you have Harry Kane in there. And for me, it makes sense to play the likes of Sancho, Grealish and Foden if you can fit them in, because Grealish is the most foul player in the Premier League. He's going to win you free kicks. Same as Foden, because he's tricky, and Sancho's pace. And plus Sancho, he has end product. He's been doing it for Borussia Dortmund. You know what I mean? And for me, I just think that's what Southgate needs to do, is try and get them in the team. Because if you look at Italy, okay, they came out, they went to go down, but it never fazed them. They got into the game, they picked up the ball, they were passing it around, getting their touch, feeling the way into the game. And I just think if you could get the likes of Foden and Grealish in there somehow, maybe drop Grealish back in beside Declan Rice, and put Foden out one side, and maybe or have a toss up between him and Sancho, I do think he's have a real shot at the World Cup. For me, I just think he needs to play his best players. I don't understand why Saka came on before Rashford, before Sancho, when them boys have big game experiences. They have big game experience. What has Saka got? A Europa League game under his belt. You know what I mean? When you look at the likes of Sancho, Rashford, big Champions League games, Rashford has already played big games for his country. Why on earth are you putting on Saka ahead of him? You can say the Saka call has worked at times, but in a big game like that, surely you bring on the likes of Rashford or somebody like that, surely.
Yeah, I agree, and I think especially in extra time, I think we could use with that because that pace, especially with Sancho, his ability to run at players, even when they're even when they got full fitness, it's not even when they got tired legs, is something to be scared of. And I think it would have frightened the Italian defence. It would have pushed them backwards a bit potentially in that extra time. And I do think that's a point. But let me ask you about Harry Kane. How much do you feel for Harry Kane after yesterday, after yet another final defeat for him, yet another trophy slipping out of his grasp? He just can't get that. He just can't get his hands on it, can he? And he's just so desperate. All right, apologies about that, guys. Unfortunately, our router kind of failed on us, but we are back now. But I'm only going to come back to say goodbye because unfortunately we have run out of time. I want to thank all our guests for coming on. I want to thank everyone for interacting with the stream as always. It's been a very difficult day for all the England fans and for everyone around the country to deal with and to get over, and it's going to hurt for a while. Last night's penalty shootout defeat to Italy. It's definitely going to hurt for a while, but thankfully, there's things to cling on to for the future. There's a young, hungry squad that definitely has got bags of ability and one that all the country can rally behind. And I think we're all looking forward to the World Cup after the past two tournaments. So there is that light at the end of this dark tunnel that we all feel at the moment. But that's all I want to leave you with for now. And I want to thank everyone for joining us. And hopefully Spurs can give us some more joy over the next year, however unlikely it may seem. But let's see how it goes. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, England.